Hey guys, welcome to Boxing Squared for boxing news and views from around the internet. In this video, I'm going to cover off 3 fights from the weekend that I didn't want to slip by without comment. We had Arslanbek Makhmudov back in action, another win. We had Tony Yoka back in action, another win. Both Makhmudov and Yoka stopping their respective opponents, Julian Fernandez and Mikhail Wallach, in the 3rd round. Also at the back end of this video, I'll just touch on Tom Schwarz picking up the IBF International title. It was a vacant title that he fought Ilja Mezencev, a guy he'd already beaten back in 2015. And yeah, we'll get to that. But first I want to start with Arslanbek Makhmudov in Montreal. This was a fight I tried to watch live. I had a subscription to watch it live, but for whatever reason, technical issues, I couldn't. So I've had to wait a full day to actually get to see the fight. And it was a pretty impressive effort from Arslanbek Makhmudov against Julian Fernandez. Fernandez coming into this fight had one loss, and that loss was actually against Tom Schwarz, who we'll get to later. In the opening round, Makhmudov came out strong as he normally does, looking for the right hand and also the right uppercut. But I was actually quite pleasantly surprised and heartened to see he was working that jab a bit more, and he was looking for the left hand, looking for hooks instead of being completely right hand dominant. And it's one of those things that I think, mixing in more variation for Makhmudov is going to be better the higher he climbs, because obviously it disguises the right hand instead of, the opponent always looking for the right hand. And actually in the 3rd round where it ended, it was a big left hand. And you can see here on screen, this is the sort of moment that it impacted, that actually sort of set in the rot for Julian Fernandez. He was backed up, he literally went all the way across the ring from the force of the punch. And from that point, Makhmudov swarmed him, and it was all over within seconds with the referee waving it off. It was a very impressive stoppage and performance, I thought, from Arslanbek Makhmudov, albeit against, somewhat limited opposition, but he did the business. He advances, he stays unbeaten. And I'm looking forward, maybe the back end of this year or early 2020, to seeing Makhmudov step up to another level. And bear in mind, this was a late replacement opponent. His original opponent, Tishibulbur Kalonga, he couldn't get into Canada, couldn't get the visa in time. There were some issues. So Julian Fernandez was a late replacement for this fight. So we'll give Makhmudov a bit of a pass on that one. But overall, I enjoyed the performance. Another win. He advances to, I think it's 9-0 now, and hopefully bigger and better things to come, especially in 2020, for one of the, I think, best kept secrets in terms of the prospects within the heavyweight division, compared to a lot of other prospects like Tony Yoka, like Daniel Dubois, like Joe Joyce, F.A. Jagba. He doesn't really get a lot of praise. Another one as well, Filip Hrgovic. In terms of Makhmudov, he's slightly under the radar. I think hardcore boxing fans are, knowing who this guy is more and more now, but in terms of the casual awareness, because he's up in Canada, maybe not so much. And moving on to Tony Yoka. He also had a 3rd round stoppage win over Mikhail Wallach. This was in France. I tried to watch this live, but couldn't, technical difficulties, all that sort of thing. But overall, it was a very competitive fight for the first couple of rounds. Wallach, he didn't come to fall over. He actually was looking to have some ambition in there early, working the jab, trying to, hit Yoka with hooks, trying to land a 1-2. There was, it was actually a very sort of mirrored first couple of rounds. Both were looking to do much of the same sort of things. But in the 2nd round, that's where the difference for Yoka started to come through. He was really starting to wail away on Wallach's body, and that ultimately started to wear him down. And in the 3rd round, there was a very good combination. Started off with a body shot and then a hook to the head, an uppercut. There was all sorts of punches that were thrown in there and delivered. Wallach was down, but he beats the count, only for Yoka to swarm him, and he's back on the canvas in a matter of seconds. It was all over. The referee waves it off. So a very good performance, a prospect level win for Tony Yoka. Bear in mind, this guy has also had under 10 fights. I think he was moving to, 7-0 on the back of that win. And a guy like Mikhail Wallach, who recently only fought Christian Hammer, that was the sort of level he was fighting at. So Tony Yoka, very impressive performance. And yeah, he is destined for big things in the heavyweight division. He is on the back of his performances so far, after coming back from that ban that he had. He's beaten Alexander Dimitrenko in pretty conclusive fashion, and now Mikhail Wallach. So Tony Yoka is really doing all the the things that a prospect with ambitions of, competing at the next level, he's doing all the right things at the moment. And they are talking potentially a fight with Johan Dorper at the end of the year. I mean, Yoka has been trying to bait Dorper for some time into that fight. Dorper had a child earlier in the year, so he didn't want to fight him mid-year. But hopefully that fight does happen, because it kind of would seemingly be a bit of a passing off the torch type fight. I mean, you can argue that maybe Carlos Takam, who fights out of France, obviously originally from Cameroon, but a French citizen now, him and Dorper, who is the better of the two, some people might argue Takam. But Yoka, as the up-and-coming gun, he is the heir apparent to sort of being the top of the tree of the French heavyweights. And just rounding out with Tom Schwarz, and I did actually catch this one live, and if you follow my Twitter, you may have seen I posted a clip with Tom Schwarz celebrating his win over Ilja Mezencev, a guy who we fought back in 2015. At that time, Mezencev actually dropped Schwarz in the first round, but Schwarz went on to win. No idea why Schwarz was fighting Mezencev, because he normally fights at cruiserweight, and he was number 6 cruiserweight in Germany ahead of this fight. But yeah, this was a fight that it wasn't exactly all entertainment. Schwarz was looking to use his bigger frame, his bigger body, trying to dominate the smaller man. But it seemingly, it was his conditioning that let him down, because he would start to pour the pressure on, but then would tie up because he just couldn't seem to keep the combinations going or keep the pressure on. It did seem that his conditioning did let him down. Overall, though, he did sort of wear the smaller man down, and after round 6, Mezencev didn't come out for the belt for round 7. So it was a bit of a disappointing ending for a fight that, as I said in my tweet, was devoid of any real highlights. Tom Schwarz landed the odd shot, but Mezencev also landed a few of his own. But it really wasn't a great fight, and you can see here on screen it means a lot for Tom Schwarz to be the IBF International champ. And that, by the way, will give him likely a top 10 ranking in the IBF. So, yeah, I don't know how the belt got on the line there, but it was, and he is going to be firmly within the IBF rankings in the top 10 now that he holds that regional title. Anyway, what did you make of it all if you caught those fights? Drop a comment loud and often. Hit like, hit subscribe. Follow me on Twitter, boxing_squared. I'm out.